Hello and welcome to the Today's Homeowner Weekly podcast. We're here to help you with the challenges we all face as homeowners. I'm Danny Lifford.
And I'm Joe Truini. And each week, Danny and I are here on the podcast to answer any and all home improvement questions.
And we want to hear from you. Send us your questions or comments at todayshomeowner.com/podcast.
Okay, Danny, let's get started.
Today's Homeowner podcast is brought to you by the Home Depot. How doers get more done. This week, we offer some advice on how to cure some of those roof leaks you might have on a flat roof. They're a little unique, can be problematic, but those problems can also be solved. Almost every week, we talk about concrete repairs. We have a few more to discuss this week, and also fire safety tips. This time of the year, when we're out busy grilling and maybe distracted a little bit, we want to make sure everybody stays safe. So we visit with our friends at Home Depot on a few safety tips. And also, Chelsea Lipford Wolf drops by to give us an update on Chelsea's Ranch Revival, a really cool project. Joe, what about a simple solution for us?
All right, Danny, I've got a really quick and easy and actually pretty attractive way to keep your lawn tools, your small gardening and lawn tools handy right in the garden. So you don't have to be traipsing back and forth to the shed or garage or wherever you usually keep them.
Well, I hope my wife is tuned in right now. She needs to pick up on this tip. Okay, let's get started here. Let's see if we can help Mary Ellen, who's in New York with a little bit of a drain problem there. Mary Ellen, well, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dan. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Sure. Tell us about this the problem you're having on your roof.
The problem is my dad passed away in January, and I inherited his home, and it's a two-family dwelling. The roof, it's flat. It's a flat roof, and we have a lot of trees in the area. There's a couple of trees that live. The landlord is next door is a vacant. It's a landlord does not live there, and she refuses to cut the trees down. So we get a lot of tree leaves and pine needles and a lot of things on the roof. So it's been clogging the drain up. We did put one of the steel domes over the drain, but that didn't help. It just made it worse. So what happened is, and this has been going on for like 3 years now, the leaves and all the debris collect around that drain. And then the water pools. It happened about a month and a half ago, and there was about 2 feet of water up there.
Wow.
So the water it actually came through the bathroom ceiling on the second floor all the way down to the first floor. And I sent you a picture of what it looked like on the first floor. And it actually affected the kitchen area on the second floor. So we know it's not the roof that's leaking because it's happened before. And once we clear the debris around the drain, we don't have any issues. So I didn't know if there's something. I mean, the landlord is not willing to cut the trees down. I'm kind of at a loss. I don't want to give up my dad's home at this point. He grew up there and lived there his whole life. But a part of me is like, I don't want to make another investment. This will be the third bathroom we're putting in.
Oh, boy.
Unless I can get the problem solved.
Sure. Well, we sure hate to hear that you're having those kind of problems like that. And we've talked before about when it rains outside, it should be a time to relax. But if you got a little bit of a roof issue like that, it's very hard to relax. So let's see what we can do. Well, putting the dome cover over it would be one of our suggestions since you've done that. But I know exactly what you're talking about when you get some of the larger leaves and so forth that accumulate against that. They tend to stick very, very well, and it doesn't take long before that next rain problems can occur. I have seen situations, and of course, not knowing exactly how big it is, I'm not sure exactly how feasible this is in your particular case, but many times we've actually gone in and built roofs over roofs in order to shed the water away so that it basically eliminates the need for that drain. Now, you may have what we call a parapet wall that runs around the house. It would make that a little more difficult, but there are ways. Okay, all right. Well, that's what I thought when you said that about the depth of that. So that would be, of course, a more major approach to that. In order to turn that flat roof into a pitch style roof where you could put shingles on it and that type of thing. But it would be a long-term solution. Joe, what other suggestions would you have there?
Yeah, Mary Ellen, first of all, does the parapet wall have openings in it around the perimeter to allow excess water to drain out, or is it solid all the way around?
No, it's solid all the way around.
Okay, well, that might be one option, is to have openings so that the water could drain out. Now, you did put a roof drain dome over, and for people who aren't familiar, it's essentially just like It's like a steel grate or plastic grate that has slots or holes in it that goes over the drain. And the idea, of course, is to keep debris from going down the pipe, yet water can flow through it. But of course, what happens, as you've discovered, if enough debris, leaves and sticks or whatever, piles up against that drain dome, then the water can't get through. It pools up, and then it's got to go somewhere, and it's finding its way into the house. Now, and the reason that drain dome is there is to keep the pipe from getting clogged. But if it's a large enough drain pipe, you don't need the dome, and you're better off just letting everything wash down and hopefully wash out. Because this way you won't. The only time you'd get water collecting is if that pipe's completely plugged up, solid, 100%, that the water can't drain out, or at least mostly plugged up, so water can't drain out quick enough. But the only things they really recommend is, I don't know how accessible this roof is, but you should clean it. Clean that drain once a month. You should keep the roof deck itself cleaned, brush or rake away, however you can get up there, I don't know, but the debris to stop them from happening. And I believe that you can check with your town or with an attorney, but any neighbor's tree that overhangs your property, you have access to. You can cut those branches. Now, you should really check with the neighbor first and say, listen, this is an issue. Legally, I'm allowed to trim those branches, and if they want to be upset about it, that's fine, as long as you are legally able to do it. And I think that might differ from town to town, and that might solve part of the problem, depending on how many branches you can trim.
That's true, yeah.
But other than that, there's really not much you can do. Just like with gutters, sometimes people put leaf guards on their gutters, but the guards collect so many leaves, the water's not getting in. So they suggest putting in a bigger gutter, a bigger downspout, and just let the leaves and everything else just wash right down out and through the downspout. So unfortunately, I don't have a sure cure for you other than those suggestions.
Yeah, and we've actually, the roof doesn't have an access. You have to go up from the outside by a ladder.
Yeah, of course.
To carry
right?
anything up, so that's difficult for me to get up there and clean it very often.
Yeah, but
the other thing is my dad did hire someone to come in, and our attorney did tell us you can cut whatever's on your side, and she agreed to that. Unfortunately, the trees are like 60 feet high, so they just overhang over the house. So I guess I don't have much of I guess we've done all those options, so I'm not really sure, except for building the secondary roof, that would be the solution for us.
Yeah, and you could, like Danny said, you could put a slightly pitched roof, even if it's a parapet wall, you can put a slightly pitched roof. And now this would, not be a cheap fix, but it'll be a permanent fix. Put a slanted roof, a slightly slanted roof on that, have the water run to the outside. Then that parapet wall, you'd have to obviously cut holes in it to let the water out. But that and into a downspout, and then into a gutter, and then a downspout. So that might be another option to try.
Okay, well, I'm willing to try anything at this point. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Our pleasure, and best of luck to you. And I hope you do have a great weekend.
Thank you. You as well.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. Well, I tell you, that can be so frustrating, and you have these, same problems over and over like that, and you can hear in her voice the sentimental attachment to the home, which I certainly don't blame her about that. But, the creating bigger holes and drains, or scuppers as they call them, coming out of the parapet wall. And a parapet wall, by the way, is it's really not used in residential construction very much, but it's generally just a small wall that circles the roof. And then when rain gets on the roof, that goes around the perimeter of the roof. And when water gets on the roof, you have your center drain and you have your outlets around there, the scuppers that let it out. But boy, it's problematic. That's why you don't see it very much, because it does require a lot of maintenance and a lot of issues that you have to deal with all along the way.
Doing it yourself doesn't have to mean all by yourself. With the Home Depot as your partner, doing's never been easier. You can pick up skills online in a virtual workshop. Pick up what you need fast from easy in-store pickup lockers. Even have it delivered same day. Oh, and if you don't have time to tackle a project, our home services can do it for you. This is doing like never before. This is the Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Let's see if we can help Ron out in Illinois. Ron, welcome to the Today's Homeowner Radio Show. Tell us about the porch and the issue you have there.
Well, after the concrete on the porch has been down about 12 years, I think, and after a period of time, part of it is covered and part of it is open to the sky. and the part that's open has started to deteriorate. And I think it's probably the part of the concrete that's the Portland cement, where you finish it, has deteriorated. So I was wanting to restore back to the original finish, because 3/4 of the porch is still smooth, and about 1/4 of the porch it looks like sand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to think of a way to restore that finish, and I thought, well, maybe if I just made a slurry or a paint type mixture out of Portland cement and brushed it on, if it would work.
Okay.
But then I was thinking, I don't know if it would cure rough, or if it would flatten like paint does, or what.
Well, that's a good question, and one that I don't recall us ever receiving here on the show. And now we do have a really good product that we can recommend that I guarantee you will work. But before that, Joe, what do you think about? I've often thought about that with using just exactly like Ron is saying here, taking some Portland cement, making just that slurry type of thing, big 4-inch brush or whatever, or even a squeegee. I just wonder how well it would adhere to that existing concrete without putting a bonding agent on it or whatever. Have you ever had any experience on that, Joe?
I have, but not on a horizontal surface that it's exposed as much as this is. And you're right, Ron, that's exactly why, you just have the snow and the water and the rain and the sun beating down on this. And the concrete is hard, but the cement part of the concrete is not so hard, and it's the porous part. So what's happening, of course, is washing away the softest part, and the gravel that's in the concrete is being exposed, the other aggregate that's in there. So yeah, you could probably put a slurry over the top and it would look a lot better, but it's not going to solve the problem. Because the rain, again, you're putting in first, it might be pretty obvious. The patch area would never look like the part that's concealed. And I'm going to hand it back to Danny. I'm sure he's going to suggest a resurfacer. But I think what you need to do is patch any areas you can and then go over the entire surface.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something I've used there, Ron, is from Quikrete, and it's called Recap. RECAP, and it is just amazing and very easy to use. You actually apply it after you mix it up according to the directions you apply it with a large rubber squeegee. You can go right over the entire area. You're only putting about maybe an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch over it, and then you can use a broom to create a non-skid surface on it by pulling a broom over it real easily. And I think that's would be a great way to revitalize that and make it look brand new.
Would you have to seal that afterwards then?
You wouldn't have to, but I would recommend it just using the clear masonry sealer, just to kind of help repel any stains and water and deterioration. It's a sealer that more or less soaks into the pores of the concrete. It's not as much a paint type of application, but one that soaks in.
Do you have to prep the area that still has a smooth finish on it with like a muriatic acid or something?
It's always good they do recommend you pressure wash it real well, but, that's really all you would have to do is pressure wash it, make sure it's in good shape. But I guarantee it'll work, and if you go to quikrete.com, you'll be able to see some of the videos that they have in order to, to be able to show you how easy it is to apply. Time for our Best New Product segment, brought to you by the Home Depot. How doers get more done. If your house is like mine, there never seems to be enough space in the dishwasher for the dirty dishes you have on hand. That's what the KitchenAid Top Control built-in tall tub dishwasher would like to change. By adding a flex-free third rack, they've given you more options for where you put dishes in, a variety of shapes and sizes like the big roasting pans or serving bowls, colanders, and the big Dutch ovens. It also features rotating wash jets to clean items in the rack and a drying bar with tabs that help wick the moisture off of glasses. Now, this model also uses microfiltration to continuously remove food particles during the wash and rinse cycle, so only clean water circulates in the dishwasher. Plus, it's super quiet, which is so important these days, especially if you have an open concept kitchen. Now, on the outside, the print shield finish resists smudges and fingerprints, while the controls are neatly tucked away on the top of the dishwasher door for a really clean, sleek look. So if you'd like to take a look at this, drop by your local Home Depot, or you can log on to homedepot.com. And again, it's the KitchenAid Top Control built-in tall tub dishwasher. If you're in the market for a dishwasher, might be just what you're looking for, and especially one being very, very quiet is so important now. I mean, I know my new one I have in my new house here, very, very quiet. And like you say, Joe, with the open concept kitchen, you could be, just a few feet away, basically, having dinner or watching television, and you're having that dishwasher grind around. That's not what you want in a house these days.
Yeah, especially in a kitchen because there are no soft surfaces, right? There's so many hard surfaces that reflect sound. The cabinets are hard, the countertops are hard, the floor is hard. In fact, we had a new KitchenAid dishwasher installed last year, I think, and it is super quiet. You don't even hear it. And now the noisiest thing in the kitchen is the ice maker.
Real quick, Joe, we've gotten a lot of great emails that came in at todayshomeowner.com/ask. This one's from Donna in Arkansas. Our home has a patio out back that's covered by a slanted roof. We recently installed a TV out there, but the sun is so bright we can't see the screen. I'd like to install a shade of some kind, but how would that work with the slanted roof? Well, a lot of times on that, well, first of all, you can build just a little shade cover around the television screen itself. It may not have to come out, but 6 or 7 inches in order to kind of frame that in. We've done that before, but on a sloped roof like that, I've seen people take like the bamboo type blinds or other type of blinds and put one in a fixed manner to take care of the trapezoid design on the sloped roof, and then start with a level point and going down with another blind, and that works pretty well. And also there's some really nice shade screen, solar screen, that's available that you can actually have a fixed panel made for that, the sloped or trapezoid design, and then you can have a retractable type screen, whether it's manual or like a roll down screen, whether it's manual or operated by a motor. Either way, that'll allow you to block that sun that's causing that problem, and also probably make your patio a little cooler by doing that. I have the exact same thing on my patio, and when that sun's going down in the west there, it just cooks. So that will work very, very well. Right now it's time for us to go in the aisles of the Home Depot with our buddy Danny Watson. Danny, I'll tell you, fire safety is so important to all of us here at Today's Homeowner, and certainly at Home Depot. And you've got a lot of things there that people should really consider picking up to make their home a little safer. Tell us a few of them.
Well, Danny, safety is number one. And I'll tell you, your first line of defense is having a smoke detector. Kidde offers a battery smoke detector that has a 10-year lithium battery that's designed to last the entire life of the detector. And there's kind of a saying that says, when it comes to 10, then toss it out and start again. So, you don't just change out those batteries. You'll want to replace the entire instrument.
Yeah, and it's so much easier now. Instead of changing the batteries, they used to have the reminders whenever the, time changed during the year to change the batteries. You don't have to do that anymore. And a lot of homeowners don't realize that 10-year lithium battery is available right now. Also, fire extinguisher. Sometimes people get, and they're, okay, I want a fire extinguisher. They're sitting there looking at the different types. What do you recommend for a good general purpose fire extinguisher for the home?
Well, you can pick up one of the multi-purpose ones at Home Depot, and especially keep one in the kitchen, the garage, the basement, really on every level of the home. And that fire extinguisher is going to help to, if it's a small fire, help to stop it, or at least clear you out a path so you can safely get outside of the home.
I love the way they put an acronym together to help you on remember things. And I remember one here on the fire extinguishers, the word pass, P being pull the pin. You got to pull the pin. And then A, aiming the nozzle towards the base of the fire. A lot of people don't realize, really, if you're in that situation, your heart's beating, your pulse is going strong. You have to remember that. And then S, just squeeze the lever slowly to start releasing it. And the other S, sweeping the nozzle from side to side. I think that's very important, not only, and maybe you have a little family meeting and say, okay, if something happens, here's what you do. I think that would be a good idea. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Have a plan in place. Have a conversation with, who's going to do what, or like you say, where you're going to meet, who's going to call for help. So yeah, have a plan. Be prepared.
And so many times we're all excited. Everybody getting back together now and grilling, and there's a lot of problems that are caused by people not paying attention to the grill. Maybe they get a little distracted. They're running off over here, and boy, I have seen melted vinyl siding. I've seen decks catch on fire. That's really something that everybody needs to be very focused on when you're going. Plus, you don't want to burn the hamburgers, right?
That's right. Hey, we want the event to turn out nice. We don't want to have any problems along the way.
But it is a good idea to have that meeting with your family, and you hope you never have to use this information that we're sharing with you. But it's better for the comfort of your family to have that operating fire extinguisher on every level of your home, and make sure you have one in your workshop, in your garage. And then, if you can't remember when you changed your battery in your smoke detector, well, it's probably been too long. Don't worry about replacing the battery. Replace the entire unit, because they're really, it only makes sense. If you've got a unit that's 8 or 10 years old, the technology that Kidde has in their units now is far better than it was a few years back.
You're exactly right. Yeah, and there's so much more. There's even some that will link with your smart home. So the technology has come a long way. So it's a great time to update that if you're at that milestone.
So it'd be a great time for you to head out to Home Depot right now and make things a little safer for your family. Very easy, very inexpensive. And Danny, thanks so much for being with us again here.
Thank you for having me on.
Hey, Danny, another important safety feature every home should have is a carbon monoxide detector. Mm-hmm. Should have one on every level of your home and in every bedroom. And although you always see smoke detectors up high, of course, because smoke rises, carbon monoxide sinks. It's heavier than air, so it sinks. So carbon monoxide detectors are typically closer to the floor. And a lot of them, in fact, I bought a couple of them that are battery powered, and they're also plug-in models. So if you don't have electricity, the battery backup will still fire off the alarm if it detects carbon monoxide. So you just plug them into any outlet. They're close to the floor, and this way, if there is a leak of gas, it'll detect it before it builds up to a level that it's dangerous for humans.
That's great to know, and great information from our friends there at Home Depot. Here's another email from Kevin in South Carolina. I'd like to install a powered roof vent in the roof of my garage. The garage has a ridge vent, but it's not doing a great job of venting hot air from the attic. The garage gets extremely hot in the summertime. Now, a friend said you shouldn't use a powered roof vent if there's already a ridge vent. Is that true? And if so, why? A lot of different ventilation questions like this, and it's many times a little difficult to explain completely. Would encourage you to go to todayshomeowner.com and put in the search engine there, roof ventilation, and there's a lot of details and a lot of articles there on the site to help you out. But essentially, what your friend is telling you, Kevin, is true. If you have a ridge vent and it's installed properly, and which part of that is the air intake, you've got to have a lot of venting on your soffit or overhang area, allowing that fresh air in, and then heat rises, it'll go right out of the top. But so often, Joe, what I've seen is when the ridge vent is installed, they're too conservative on cutting that little slot up there.
Right. That's right.
Instead of getting it out to 2.5 inches or so on each side, they give you about 1.5 inches, and you're cutting your flow down by 50%. And that means it's not letting the hot air out sufficiently. So, Kevin, that would be the first thing I would do, is make sure you have enough ventilation as far as the air intake in your soffit areas, which should be continuous venting instead of the vents that are 8 by 12. They really need to be continuous. If not, then you could use a power roof ventilator. You might even try one of the solar powered ones. You could use that if you needed to, but it kind of goes against the theory of the whole ridge venting.
Exactly. The reason they don't recommend a power attic vent along with a ridge vent is you could reverse the natural flow of hot air out of the ridge vent, and if that continues, then in extreme cases when it rains, it actually is drawing rainwater into that vent, because you got the air going in instead of out, the ridge vent. So yeah, it's never a good idea to combine them. And as Danny said, you have to really make sure you have plenty of soffit vents, or at least a couple of large gable end vents, so air is coming in and then naturally through convection flowing up and out through the ridge vent. And again, a power vent might interrupt that natural flow of the air.
Yeah, I'll tell you, in my garage, I actually installed a one of the solar powered ones, and I remember using one years and years ago, and it was like
Right.
it was almost like a toy. But
Right.
this one is like a space capsule.
Really
I
works,
mean, it
right?
really,
Yeah.
and as soon as I put it in and pulled that little plug out, it kicked on, and you can see how, because it works very slow, but more of a low speed, and
Right.
you can't hear it at all. And I think that's another really good route. And fortunately, they've come down in price a little bit because they used to be fairly expensive.
Doing it yourself doesn't have to mean all by yourself. With the Home Depot as your partner, doing's never been easier. You can pick up skills online in a virtual workshop. Pick up what you need fast from easy in-store pickup lockers. Even have it delivered same day. Oh, and if you don't have time to tackle a project, our home services can do it for you. This is doing like never before. This is the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
One of the best times of the whole entire show, according to many, many listeners, is when Joe Truini shares with us yet another simple solution. Joe, what do you have for us today?
All right, Dan, here you go. We were talking about gardening quite a bit the last few weeks, of course, because the weather's great for being outside. But if you have a garden and you're carrying your garden tools, I'm talking about small hand gardening tools, in and out of the garage or shed, back and forth, or you leave them outside and you lose them or they get all rusty. So here's a way to keep those garden tools right in your garden. And all you have to do is bury a 4x4 post and leave it sticking up out of the ground 3 or 4 feet and put on top of it a mailbox. Just go out and get yourself a mailbox. You plant this mailbox in the middle of your garden. And mailboxes, you can get really inexpensive plastic ones, metal ones that are smaller, or if you want to, and they make the bigger ones if you want larger hand tools to put in there or supplies. And that's basically it. And you can paint it decoratively if you'd like, and you just keep your hand tools right in the garden so they're always there. You don't have to take them in and out, and they're protected from the weather, of course, as long as you remember to close the door. So there you go. It's a mailbox. It's a garden mailbox planted just for your tools.
You know the little hand trowels and everything?
Yeah.
Have you ever run over one of those with a lawnmower?
No, but
Yeah.
it sounds like somebody I know has done that recently.
Well, I have. And,
that's not good for the trowel or the lawnmower.
Or your bare feet if you're walking by.
That's
or
right, yeah.
anything else, or for the tool or anything else. So I'm going to go. As a matter of fact, I have a used mailbox. Now, why would I save a used mailbox? Well, suddenly I'm looking pretty smart right now.
Yeah, now you're looking smart.
Thanks
That's
to this
right.
simple solution idea, and to have that, heck, paint it green and put it in the middle of the tomatoes, whatever, that would work out very well, and that will solve my problem, Joe. That's a good solution to my issue. I'm going to tackle that this afternoon, and I might even write Sharon's name on the side of it.
Beautiful.
Just so she knows.
Just next week, I don't want to hear you tell us a story about how you ran over a mailbox in the middle of the garden with your lawnmower because you didn't realize it was there.
No, I don't think so. Now it's time for our podcast question of the week. This comes in from Elaine in California. Hey, we would love to get your question if you have one for us, and you can send that in at todayshomeowner.com/podcast. Okay, this is interesting, Joe. We just bought a vacation home in Homewood, Lake Tahoe area. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm only going to rent it out about 5 days a month. How can I secure the deck furniture and the grill from the rear decking to keep it from being stolen? The spa man, the guy that works on my spa, said people are even stealing spas.
What?
Like hot tubs. So please help.
Whoa.
Wow. Well, those kind of things, there's so many, of course, there's bad apples out there everywhere, and people that,
Jeez.
know that people are not at these homes on a regular basis.
Right, yeah.
It's just one of those things. Just like none of these ideas might be very attractive, but how they do at some of the home centers and where they have furniture and stuff stored outside is just to take that long steel cable that's coated with plastic so that it doesn't scar up. And you can get these things 25 feet or so, and basically you just lace it through the entire thing and, the different parts of it, the chairs and the table and the grill or whatever, and then you just put a really good tamper-proof lock on it. And that's a pretty simple way that once you get there to unlock it, pull that out, store it in a closet. That would be one way to do it. I know there's other things like, alligators and moats floats, you can put around it. That's one way of doing it. Or a little thing where you trip a signal and machine gun fire goes off, but not real machine gun fire. I mean, just like in
just the noise.
Home Alone, But
Home Alone,
anyway, so I'm running out of ideas. What about you, Joe? You got any ideas?
Yeah, well, of course, we're assuming that they can't just put the furniture away in a shed or something because, if they see it, they're going to steal it. But yeah, you can lock it together with a steel cable. They do make battery-powered alarms. Some of them are motion sensor, some of them are vibration sensing. So if you put them on a piece of furniture or anything and someone moves it, the alarm goes off. And I would think just the alarm itself would scare off the thieves. And I was wondering if this deck is high enough off the ground, and Elaine doesn't mention it, but if it is, I was wondering if you could take a short length of cable, tie it around, lock it onto the piece of furniture, slide it down between the deck boards, then go under the deck and put a padlock or something so they couldn't remove it. Because otherwise, if you have them all cabled together, then you can only move the furniture so much. At least here you can slide it up and down, move the furniture a little bit. And that would prevent them from stealing it as well. I'm assuming they didn't bring a bolt cutter, but I think ordinarily people just leave them out on their lawn, on their patio, on their deck, and that's why they're so easy to steal. Although they must be showing up with like a pickup truck or something, right? They're not just running down the street with a chaise lounge. And definitely put up cameras. They're very affordable these days. Put them in the front of the house by the drivers so you see who's driving in. Put them in the back, obviously, and at least give the cops a fighting chance of catching these people if they have some idea of what they look like or what the vehicle looks like, even if you don't capture the license plate number. That's expensive stuff. I don't know if anybody's priced patio furniture.
Oh, especially the real good quality stuff. But the camera surveillance, and you can buy those in the kits. I bought one for my house. I've got 8 cameras running right now, and I can pick up my phone and I can see 8 different views of my home. I can always also see them on any of the televisions inside, and it's motion activated, so it catches a lot of things. I even saw an interesting one where the FedEx man ran over my mailbox.
Really?
So I have a conversation to have with FedEx on that.
Did they get you a new mailbox?
No, they actually ran over it, and then they backed up and ran over it again as they were leaving. So, but there will be a new mailbox delivered by FedEx. Wouldn't that be ironic?
Yeah, that would be pretty ironic. If he drops it off, then backs over it.
Hopefully that'll help you out there, Elaine, and we certainly hope that you enjoy your new vacation home and that all the bad guys leave you alone. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the Today's Homeowner podcast. And if you'd like to send us any kind of question or comment or anything, we want to hear it. And just go to todayshomeowner.com/podcast. And thanks again for all those great reviews we get each and every week. I'm Danny Lippert along with my buddy Joe Truini. Thanks for listening to this Today's Homeowner podcast.